Hello and welcome to Bold Business Podcast Show. This is Ros Jones, and today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Jo Swann, founder of award-winning Chocolate PR. Hi, Jo.
Hello, hello.
It's so lovely of you, to have you on this show. And Jo, so tell me, Chocolate PR, that's such a wonderful name. How did that come about?
Oh, do you know what? It came from a bit of a rebel streak, actually. So Chocolate PR was born after I had basically stuck two fingers up at the agency that I was working at and walked out and decided I was going to do things my own way. And at that point in time, when you're feeling a little bit and feeling very kind of revved up and defiant, if you like, it was a time where I wanted to create a brand that was very me. And so Chocolate PR was a bit of a marker in the sand to kind of say, I'm doing things my way now. And because it's quite creative and it's a bit playful and it's quite female focused, it was a kind of a calling in to people that I wanted to work with and almost like a warning sign for people that I didn't want to work with by making it that kind of playful. It was like, I'm not here for you, but I am here for you.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. So that's so important, isn't it? It's like when I first started my business, I would have worked, I did. I worked with anybody. They didn't even have to have any money. They just had to have a pulse. And because I was so keen to work with people. And it's only later that you realize actually who you do want to work with. So to put that sign up front to say, like, this is for you, but it's not for you. It's so clever. Well done.
Yeah, it's stood me in good stead, actually, to be honest. So even though we have worked with some corporate clients kind of over the years, they've always been people who have been prepared to be a bit creative and do things differently. So I think it's really had a nice sort of thread through that it's an identity that people they kind of understand what it is and what they're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you give out chocolate bars as little gimmicky things?
Yeah, we use chocolate loads in our marketing. So one of the biggest challenges, obviously, in PR is actually getting hold of journalists and getting journalists to do what you would like them to do and to get them to remember you as well, because, my God, they get so many, approaches. So we do use chocolate quite a lot in terms of little treats, little thank yous, like quirky little gifts through the post. And yeah, it's playful. So...
Playful bribery is that?
Yeah, exactly. I'm down for that.
That sounds great. And so, who do you work with, apart from people who are attracted to the playful, creative name?
Yeah, so these days we work with female entrepreneurs, particularly, who are mission-led businesses, ultimately. So they have probably been super successful in corporate world. They will have built their career to a point where they were very, very well kind of respected and have got to a really good level. But usually something breaks them. Something makes them realize that they don't want to be there anymore, or that's not the life that they want to choose moving forward. So our clients are people who are high achievers and who have decided to channel their energy into actually creating their own path and going into business at probably a midlife point in their lives. Like, most of them have kind of hit that point and gone, no, so this, I'm going to do something different. Yeah. And they want to make a difference. Yeah. So the businesses that they run are run because either they've been through something and they want to help other people now with this new knowledge and energy that they have, or they just see something that's wrong in the world and they want to fix it. So yeah, I'm so honored to work with the kind of clients that we work with, because they inspire me every day. Literally, all of my clients are incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Isn't it? It makes your days a little bit easier when you're just surrounded by women who are like, oh my God, like, how are you doing that? Wow. Yeah.
It takes like half our life, maybe a bit more in some cases, before we actually realize what's important to us. Isn't that interesting as well?
Sad.
Well, I'm not sure if it's sad. It could be sad, I guess, if you interpret it that way. We have to go through that, don't we, to realize it. And maybe it's like, I say to people, when people complain that times are hard right now, it's like, that is life and business, isn't it? It goes up and down, we get troughs and peaks. And once we can accept that that's life, we stop just waiting for peaks, if you like. And so I do like to think that if life was really easy and there were no challenges whatsoever, we would never grow, would we? Because we'd have no need to change or develop or anything, because life's easy. So my interpretation of it, I like to put a little spin on it, is
Yeah.
actually that's a good thing. And then out of that, you get all these wise women who want to help everybody else with their journey.
Yes,
What do you think?
absolutely. No, I get what you're saying with that. I think why I said it isn't it sad is because I feel like we should be able to take control of our lives a little bit more easily than waiting for some usually massive disaster to happen before we are forced into some sort of change.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be nice if we could have actually chosen ourselves a little bit sooner?
yeah.
But that's not how it works, is it?
No, 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 not at all. Like I wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. And I just assumed it was children. And then when it came to do, and always it was just like a given. And then it was when I graduated and went to do my PGCE. I just thought, do you know what? I don't like kids. So everything was like, tossed in the air. And then I went off to find my fame and fortune for like 20 years. And then I came back round, I'm coaching, I am teaching. But it took me
Yeah.
all that time. So, it wasn't time completely wasted. I hope not.
No, and I think it always does come full circle. That's what's really interesting. And that's one of the things that I love when we work with our clients, we really work on getting to know like the whole of them. So like the whole package. And often when people start in business and they look into PR, they're wanting to get themselves out there from that point,
Yeah,
moment in time in
yeah,
terms of I want to release my business to the world and I want to show them this version of me. And I'm like, well, no, because we need people to know who you are, like, and what's brought you to this point. And
yeah,
usually to understand that, we've got to go way back and we've got to figure out actually why you were always meant to do this and how your journey and your path has led you
yeah,
here. And that's what makes you interesting and that's what helps people connect with you. When you go back and you start to join those dots, so many of my clients are like, actually, I was always the really nurturing one in my family, or I was the one that really wanted to look after people, or I was the one really interested in people and I just wanted to know how their minds ticked. And they turn out to be doing like coaching psychology or like it's something that was always going to happen,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they've kind of had to go through these other points in the road to get there. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's really interesting.
yeah. I think it is a pattern. I mean, I could be putting you on the spot here, but you said you were using your rebel streak and putting your fingers up at the agency you worked with. Do you want to tell us? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
I was young at that point, so we're going back like 20 odd years. And I built myself up to work in PR. And, I always wanted to be a journalist originally. So I'd kind of thrown myself into that industry and then lots of redundancies later. And it's a really tricky industry to be in. I'd kind of thought, actually, I'll do PR because that feels like it's a safer career, but also I still get to do the writing side of things. And I just found myself in an agency run by an absolute bleep who didn't understand PR. He was a money man. He just wanted to make the money. He didn't want you to give any time to the clients. He wasn't there for the creativity. He was just there for you to do the bare minimum and to get paid top whack for it. And it didn't sit well. And also I had lots of ideas of how it could be done differently. And I just got shut down at every possible opportunity.
Yeah.
So I was a young 20-something, little blonde, who was full of life and enthusiasm and a huge workaholic, actually. Like I gave so much to that agency because that is how I function. Like I throw it all in. And yet at every opportunity I was being silenced, or ridiculed. Like there was points where I was sat in a boardroom and we kind of sat with all the directors of the different divisions because it was a full service marketing agency. And his whole goal was to make you look ridiculous in front of everyone else. And it was just soul destroying. But I think I kind of found that I'd got a bit broken. And then thankfully there were two other really strong women in that agency who he was also treating in a similar way. And we kind of came together and were like, we are not having this anymore. Like that's the last time you're going to make me cry in a board meeting because that's not who I am as a person either. And it was just ridiculous. But it was frustration more than anything else. It was like, why are you not listening to me? Like it was just, and ultimately we all came together and stuck the fingers up and did a mass walkout, which was very satisfying.
Yeah, well done. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's like when things don't align with your own values and you get that frustration, that's when it's, I think that's such a typical story of why people go out to do their own. I mean, it was my story as well. That's why I did what I did. So yeah, I can absolutely buy into that. you mentioned that you work with a lot of high achievers and how you yourself are high functioning, you give it all you've got. Tell me a bit about that, because that's a pattern that I'm seeing more and more. And in the work that I'm doing around my interest right now is that kind of habitual behavior, and it's who we are, who we've become anyway, is actually leading to burnout. So have you seen that kind of thing with your clients in terms of they're high achievers and they're doing good stuff, but actually there's a cost to that?
Yes, and I've seen that through both sides. So I've seen their stories of how that had become a reality for them in corporate, which is why some of them have actually moved away and been through their own coaching journey and sort of seen the light, and then are trying to help other people not do that to themselves. But also, yeah, I've absolutely seen it with the clients who have just gone at it a million miles an hour because they're building this business and they're not going to stop until they've got it to a certain income level or a certain impact level, or, you know, all the things of ticking all the boxes of having the podcast, the best-selling book, the £1 million turnover, like all of those like markers in life. Like I've seen loads of clients come out of corporate and then feel like they have to chase almost like the same success from an entrepreneurial perspective. And yeah, I've feared for a lot of them at different times, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's quite terrifying to watch.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did, because like you've got you've got this great job in corporate with all the money and whatever. And then you go out alone and everybody's telling you not to do it because you'd be daft to do that or crazy. And so you make up your mind, you're going to smash those goals.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in business, it's not just like that, because it is up and down. And so you can reach those goals and then have it whisked away from you, like under your feet. So you've got to start again. So yeah, I get that. And that's, it's a very interesting one. And that's my bag that I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because it takes resilience, doesn't it? And it takes being a high achiever to succeed. I think it does, because you've got to pick yourself up so many times and you've got to have this blind faith and this blind confidence. But also you have to know when to stop, don't you? And you have to know when to not push yourself like past the point of no return.
Yeah, precisely.
So,
I think it's that, well, I call it self-leadership, like self-awareness as well. So how about you in your journey? I'd love to ask these questions of my guests on here. What about you in terms of your self-leadership? Have you had a time in your life, your business, when maybe a time of adversity when you really had to dig deep into your own self-leadership and the good that came out of that?
Yeah, so I think this was a point in my business, probably just over 10 years ago, when I'd probably followed that path that we just spoke about in terms of ticking off all the boxes. So I built the agency from scratch in my 20s, built a team, had an office, built up the clients, got to the point of having really fabulous, like credible, award-winning clients, like big brands that people will recognize. And it's because I was like, right, so this is what an agency does, okay? This is what an agency does. They grow the team, they get an office, they get all of these clients that everyone's like, oh, wow, that's impressive. You get the big budgets, boom. And I took that path. And then I found myself wondering how I'd got there and why I had done that to myself, because in a moment where I was sat in a boardroom, like coming back to the previous disaster, surrounded by people who didn't understand what I was trying to do for them, I just felt lost. And it was one of those where I was being paid a lot of money to be in this boardroom and to advise them on how to do PR within their organization, which was a huge, huge business. And they were not listening. And it was a case of, oh my God. And actually only saying it to you now, I'm seeing those mirrors of being in that boardroom in that agency and being in that boardroom as something that I'd created myself. Put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
And I just realized in that moment that I didn't want that anymore. And I think it came from, there was a number of other things as well. So I just had a baby. My husband had been through something really traumatic. He'd actually been run over and broken his back, and it was horrendous. And we were told he was so lucky to have made it. And there was a lot of emotion around that. And he was really struggling. And so there was a lot of stress kind of going on anyway. And then, like I said, I'm a very all-in type of person. So I was throwing myself into my work, and then there was nothing coming back apart from frustration.
Yeah.
And like, well, why am I breaking my back to fight for you when you're not even doing the things that I'm telling you to do, and you're not being authentic with the campaigns that we've spoken about? So there was the real misalignment there.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, you know what, I'm not here for this anymore. And from that minute, I kind of started to reduce down the corporate work that I did, and effectively started again in the business with entrepreneurs, with individual founders, working more with women to empower people that actually gave a crap about, you know, how to put their voice out into the world. And I just found that I'd gone as far as I could at that point in the corporate space. It just wasn't for me anymore. So yeah, I was told that I was crazy. We had a fabulous business. My husband, I thought I'd absolutely lost the plot. Like, why are you walking away from all of this? And it's just because I couldn't have carried on doing it. It just felt wrong.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely love that. It's like, as you realised as you were saying that, it's like you had unconsciously reproduced what you'd walked away from.
yeah, and I've never actually seen that before. That is so crazy that like that literally just revealed itself in front of my eyes.
Yeah. There you are. That's what coaching is about. I'm a business coach. I help you shine the light. But also, I don't know whether you realise the word you use there, but it's like, for me, just listening to what you're saying, and I don't know whether you feel this is the thing, but with your husband's accident, where he was run over and broke his back, you then said that you were breaking your back working with the corporates. So it's like you've got all these mirrors going on in your life showing you these things. And the lights all came on through this really time of really raised emotion. Absolutely. Turn the lights on to show you, to illuminate everything that was going on. How powerful.
Yeah. Whoa.
I think we just had a moment.
Wow, I think we did. Gosh.
Yeah. But what a great story. And that, again, it's like, it always comes down to your values, isn't it? And what actually, you know, makes your heart sing, I guess, you know? Yeah.
And I think you can only go so far. Like, I was running on adrenaline. I was running on the fact that I was being recognized, the fact that I was successful, like in terms of what everyone else thought.
Yeah.
So, and I think you kind of put your blinkers on and you just carry on that treadmill.
Yeah.
But you can only do it for so long, can't you? Until something inside you actually wakes up and goes, hang on, like.
It feels like the difference between our ego that wants all the trappings that everybody expects us to want, but actually your heart's there, your sort of inner soul, if you like, is actually sitting there quietly waiting for you. Put that ego to one side and let's focus on what it is that you're truly here to do.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in lots of ways, I needed all of that experience with all of those clients and those amazing campaigns that we got a chance to work on. And I can now bring it I've only slowly started bringing back some of those elements now into my entrepreneurial client work. At first, it was all like, I'm doing it completely different and we're doing it it's like a separate entity, if you like. And now I'm like, actually, do you know what? No, because there's so much that we did learn through that, and it can benefit now the clients who have grown to a point where some of that knowledge and some of that approach is actually really useful to them. So I've started to step a little bit back into that, and also to step into working with some bigger clients again, feeling a bit safer to do that and to choose the right people and to choose the right projects that I want to support. So, yeah.
And I love that. It feels like we've come full circle, because I think now you've answered the question that we had at the beginning where we were discussing, why can't we just find our thing first of all? It's because we have to learn, don't we? So we learn through all these things, and then it's just like a journey. It's oh, what a wonderful conversation! Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh no, so interesting. Yeah, wow. We never quite knew where that was going, but it went lots of interesting places.
Yeah. Before I let you go, one question for you, and then I want you to share your contact details if you can. So the question I have for you is, what I like to ask people is, like, if I'm just about to start out in business, what's the number one piece of advice you'd give me?
start at the very beginning in terms of get the foundations right from the start. So many people jump into business and they kind of create this image of how they want to be seen. They launch straight into getting a fancy logo or a website. They write all this copy that probably doesn't feel anything like them. And I would just say, just pause for longer than you feel like you should to actually really figure out how you want to show up, because otherwise it takes years to find that. Like you have to unpick so many clients' marketing when they come to us, because it's like, but you're not really showing up as you. You're not really celebrating who you are and what you're bringing to the world. This kind of crappy vanilla marketing that you've got going on, it's not going to get us anywhere. So we have to unpick it and rewind.
Yeah.
So absolutely, the first thing to do at the beginning is to just really figure out like what space you want to hold, who you want to be, and genuinely put yourself out from day one as an expert in that thing.
Yeah.
Like, do not wait to be brave enough to put yourself out there as the person that can make a difference. You've got to position yourself as that from the start, and that's not easy. So that's why I love, sort of like you do, being that mirror to people and going, no, I see this in you, and we need to get this out to the world from day one. That stuff really matters.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then finally, so how do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you? Just chocolatepr.com or what?
Chocolatepr.co.uk is the website. I'm also quite active on Instagram, which is Jo Choc PR. I have a best-selling book on Amazon called Celebrating You with PR, which is a brilliant way of just getting your head around actually how to start like connecting with yourself in a way that helps you then put yourself out to the world. So that's definitely an easy starting place. And I do have a podcast called PR Powerhouse, which helps you understand just, again, like a step-by-step process of how to get off the ground and how to start to just get yourself out through the power of the media. So yeah, there's a few options.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. It's been a great conversation.